Now, folks, Conservative big hitters Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak and Penny Mordaunt are continuing to try and muster support from fellow Tory MPs as people continue to speculate as to who will succeed Liz Truss. As Prime Minister, Liz Truss, as you'll know, she became the shortest-serving Prime Minister in British history when she resigned on Thursday. Boris Johnson has received endorsements from several cabinet members, including Jacob Rees-Mogg and Ben Wallace, as he's widely tipped to launch a bid to return to Downing Street just a month after leaving. But will he reach the 100 MP threshold that he needs to become a candidate for Prime Minister and leader of the Conservative Party? To break down all of this and give us the latest, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by GB News' very own political reporter Olivia Utley here in the studio, the political commentator Emma Webb down the line, and the former editor of The Sun, Kelvin MacKenzie. Olivia, I'll start with you. Give us the overall picture. Is it looking likely that Boris can actually rally the party, enough of the party, behind him to actually have a stable government?
Well, this sounds rather indecisive of me, but I think at the moment it feels like it's on a knife edge whether he's going to get those 100 MPs supporting him or not. Yesterday, it felt as though momentum was building behind him quite quickly. The first two cabinet ministers to declared for him. But today, things are looking a lot less certain. You've had quite a few big beasts from the Conservative Party, both in Parliament and outside of it, throw their support behind Rishi Sunak, including Charles Moore of the Daily Telegraph, who's very, very influential among Conservative Party members and among Conservative voters. Lord Frost, who was part of Boris Johnson's inner circle, who was made Lord by Boris Johnson, who Boris Johnson brought into the cabinet, who supported Liz Truss, has thrown his weight behind Rishi Sunak as well. Steve Barclay, the Brexit secretary, Boris Johnson's chief of staff, has gone behind Rishi Sunak too. And most recently, Desmond Swayne, who I don't think anyone could say is on the left of the Conservative Party, has decided to support Rishi Sunak. So I think it all depends, I would say, on what happens with Suella Braverman and Kemi Badenoch. Priti Patel has supported Boris Johnson. That's a big boost for him. But what happens with Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman, and the main caucus of the ERG, who haven't yet decided? There's a meeting for the ERG on Monday, and on Monday morning, it's thought that most of them will declare. I think we've just got to wait with a very close eye on what happens with those developments. OK, Olivia, I'm going to bring in Emma Webb. Emma, I want to ask you, you've been around Conservative politics for a little while now. You quite like figures like Kemi Badenoch. Do you think the Conservative membership are going to be sewn up like a kipper?
I think that this is really a complete car crash, actually, for the genuinely conservative members of the Conservative Party. I think Olivia put it all perfectly in terms of, the details of what is going on at the moment and is going to happen in the next couple of days. But I think either way that this goes, as Camilla Tominey pointed out in the Telegraph, that there is currently there is no candidate for the right of the party, for those people in the Red Wall, for those people in the Blue Wall, in the Shires, and those are the places that the Conservatives need to win over, those marginal seats that could either tip to Labour or to the Lib Dems in the next general election. And I think that this is just fundamentally a disaster for those who believe in free market principles. I have a tweet in front of me just here from Tobias Elwood, which I've just noticed that he's actually deleted from Twitter, but I happen to have a screenshot of it. And he said, the free market experiment is over. It's been a low point in our party's great history. So I think the issue here, and this is a point that, as I mentioned, Camilla Tominey's article in the Telegraph, that has been made by a number of people, which is that fundamentally the Conservative Party doesn't seem to represent Conservatives anymore. And this is going to be a real problem for them. They're suffering not only a political crisis, but a deep spiritual identity crisis.
Yeah, Kelvin, then, bringing you in, I mean, what do you reckon the readership of The Sun are going to be making of all of this? Because they would have actually presumably backed Boris. I mean, I'm just looking at a poll here that says that the 2019 vote, Boris is 56% more likely to vote Tory with Boris at the helm, with Rishi on 48% more likely to vote Tory with him at the helm. Do you reckon Boris, with that 2019 mandate, a massive majority, is he the only one that can actually carry the Conservative Party forward without the calls for a general election?
No, I don't agree with that at all. In fact, the free marketeers will be very well, and of which I'm a business guy as much as a journalist, and I would class myself as a free marketeers. The one thing we don't want is any more free market economic from idiots like Liz Truss. Because if she genuinely represented the right wing of the Conservative Party, we have a massive problem in that party. And the idea that we have to go to the idiots who gave us Liz Truss in the first place, i.e. the Conservative Party members, is a shocking, shocking moment for this party. So I expect Rishi to skate home. I'd be amazed, I would be astonished, and it would be an appalling moment in the Conservative Party's history if we took somebody like Boris Johnson and actually put him up to these members and they, for the umpteenth time, got it completely and utterly wrong. Truss is being a disaster for this party. We don't want her. We want somebody who can read a balance sheet. I don't know whether any of your commentators here have ever run anything in their lives except speak something. But honestly, you need to know that 2 and 2 does equal 4. And when you try and defy it, you get the position that we ended up in the last 44 days, a couple of idiots driving our country into the ground.
Emma, do you agree with that the Conservative Party membership should actually be precluded from the process altogether?
Absolutely not. I think actually the problem that we saw that led to Liz Truss being elected in the first place was because it was put to the MPs before it was put to the members. And if it was put to the members initially, the polling suggested that someone like Kemi Badenoch would have actually been a huge success. I think someone like Kemi Badenoch is the only future of the Conservative Party. I think she's the only person who can save us from this mire. And of course, I agree that we need somebody who can read a balance sheet. And I'm certainly not making an argument for Liz Truss. As I said, I think it's been a complete car crash. But I don't think Rishi Sunak is the answer to our problems. And I certainly don't think that Boris Johnson is the economically secure leader. I backed Boris, like you said there, Darren, yourself. I also cried when Bishop Auckland went blue. I thought it was a huge victory for real conservatism in some respect, obviously not in all. But ultimately, Boris is a good leader on some fronts and not on others. And one of the ways in which I don't think Boris is necessarily the most responsible is economically. So I don't think actually that the options that we have before us are enough to save the Conservative Party from either temporary long-term obliteration or complete obliteration.